Okay, picking up on slide number 8 with the flat sign. Just move you up a little bit. Okay, so the flat sign works kind of like the sharp sign, but kind of in an opposite way. So you can notate the black key immediately to the left of a given white key by adding a flat sign in front of the note. So let's take our example here on slide number 8. We see a D, right? And it's the D that is right next to middle C. So here's my middle C, here's D, right? So if I want to say, well, I don't want D, I want D flat. So then I'm going to play the black key that's the black key that's immediately to the left of that key. So in other words, if we look here as what's written on slide number 8, see here's D, right? In notation, it corresponds to this key. And then we see, if we put a flat sign like this in front of D, that's going to correspond to the left of D, right? So here's D flat, right? D flat corresponds here. D corresponds to that. Okay, so this note is named, like I was just saying, D flat, right? But again, the symbol is always drawn to the left of the note. So we don't say flat D, right? We say D flat, even though the symbol is written to the left of the note. So keep in mind, kind of opposite of the sharp sign, the flat sign lowers the pitch of a note by 1/2 step, right? So the sharp sign raises the pitch of a note by 1/2 step, but the flat sign lowers the pitch of a note by 1/2 step. Okay, let's look at an example here. So let's look at part of the melody of O Sole Mio, page 263 in the songbook. Notice in this little excerpt here that in the second measure, we have a flat sign before A, right? The note A. So that would be an A flat. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So let's try playing this little there's two measures here. So what do we have? Well, first of all, we have a half rest, right? And recall from all our study of rhythm, how many beats does a half rest get? It gets 2 beats. So we're going to count 2 beats, and then our next note is going to be G, right? Then after that, we have our A flat, and then we're going to have an A after that. So here we go. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, then A flat, A, right? So that's how we play that. Let's listen to O Sole Mio. It's really short. It's only like 47 seconds long. Take out the music, take out the songbook, and open it up to page 263, and pay particular attention to how the A flats sound. And specifically at about 27 or 26 seconds, we will hear an A flat. So let's pull that up right now and listen to it. Right here, A flat, right there. Okay, so can listen to the rest of it later. But notice how they sound in the context of that song. Okay, so that's basically a little introduction to sharp signs and flat signs. Now, let's look at the natural sign. Okay, so now we're on slide 11. So, the natural sign is the symbol used to cancel the effect of a sharp or a flat. So, I'll play these three pitches here that we see. What do we have? An A, and then a B flat, and then a B natural. So where's A, right? You can see on the keyboard here on slide number 11 what it corresponds to. So you have A, and then B flat is the black key right next to it. And then B natural is going to be the white key right next to the right of that, right? So A, B flat, B natural, okay? A little bit more about naturals now. Let's go to slide 12. So the natural sign, in other words, returns a note to its original meaning, right? More on that in just a second, but first, keep in mind that sharps, flats, and naturals apply to all notes of a given pitch that appear after them in a given measure. So, looking at slide 12 here, we see two little excerpts of music, one on the left, one on the right. Look at the one on the left. What do we hear? We go F, G, A flat, A flat, A flat, A flat, C, D. Okay? So, I'm going to say it one more time. Keep in mind, sharps, flats, and naturals apply to all notes of a given pitch that appear after them in a given measure. So just one measure. So I have, in other words, what happens here is, here's what I just played and what's on the slide 12 here. What happens here is I have a flat sign right here, right? And this tells me, okay, it's an A flat. Now, in the rules of music, I don't have to include another flat sign right here. In the rules of music, if I see a flat sign on A, all the rest of the A's in this entire measure are also supposed to be flat. So this is A flat, this is A flat, this is A flat, this is A flat. What they did in this book is they wrote it kind of literally like this. So they're saying this is played like this. Now, so we see A flat, A flat, A flat, A flat. Now, in music, we won't really see it written like this, right? We'll see it written like this. Because the rule is, if you see A flat here, all the rest of the flats, all the rest of the A's are flat in that measure. Okay? Now, keep in mind, it's just for one measure, all right? So once we get to the next measure after that, then that rule does not apply any longer. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, 13. So now if we want to cancel that flat sign, we have to include a natural sign, right? So we're looking at slide number 13. We're looking at these two little excerpts of music. Look at the one on the left. It's going to go like this. It's really similar to the last one, but now, right after A flat, we have an A natural. So we got to go F, G, A flat, and then A natural. So I'll play it again in time. So F, G, A flat, A natural, A, C, D. Okay, so what's happening here is the composer of this measure of music wanted to, right here, wanted to say, okay, I want this note to be flat, but I want this one to be a regular A, right? So if it's written like this,
that it's not happening because we know in the rules of music, if it's flat here, it has to be flat for the rest of this measure. In this one, though, we see, okay, the composer went A flat, and then now if we see a natural sign, then we know, okay, now we have to play A flat, then the key right next to A flat to the right is going to be A natural. And so then the natural sign lasts for the rest of the measure in that case. And so in this book, the author wrote it sort of literally. Again, we won't really see it written like this when we're looking at, a real example of music. We'll see it written more like this. So we see, in real life, we don't need to add these other natural signs. This means that, okay, now we have A natural here. All the rest of the A's in this measure shall also be natural. We don't need to write these, and that's how it's written here. Okay, so that's how natural signs work, right? Okay, let's move on to slide number 14. So, as I mentioned earlier, a bar line or a measure line also cancels the effects of sharps, flats, or naturals. So, it's not necessary to add symbols to cancel the effect of sharps, flats, and naturals in previous measures. Although sometimes a composer will add them anyways as a precaution. Sometimes they're just called a courtesy. If a given piece of music is really complicated or something, the composer might just write them in anyway in parentheses. So you will often see sharps, flats, and naturals in parentheses. When they are added for clarification, some composers write them in just, like I said, as a courtesy, some don't. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, 15. Let's look at an example now. I think, if it's kind of confusing, an example should help kind of clear it up a little bit. So let's look at Santa Lucia, at least part of it. Page 269 in the songbook. So let's open that up. And let's see here. Notice in the last measure of our little excerpt here on slide number 15, we have what are our notes? We have G, and then F sharp, and then F natural, right? In time we have, okay? So now the composer of this song, they wanted to say, okay, here I want G, and then I want then F sharp, and then I want, after that, F natural. And so that's why they wrote an F sharp and then an F natural. Okay? Try playing this passage yourself. Just really these three notes, right? G, F sharp, F natural. We can see on slide 15 and also in your book that G corresponds to this particular white key, and then F sharp corresponds to this particular black key, and then F natural corresponds to this particular white key. Okay? And then, after you kind of practice playing that a little bit, see if you can listen to Santa Lucia and listen for what the naturals sound like, right? If we kind of play this melody, we have now 'neath the silver moon, ocean is glowing o'er the calm billow. So right there, o'er the calm billow, on billow in particular, we have our natural sign, right? O'er the calm billow. So we can hear that F, E natural, E flat. Okay? All right.